All right, Todd Grasley from DyeStat and runnerspace. Another episode of DyeStat discussions, and today I have the pleasure of being joined by CBA head coach Sean McCafferty and senior Alex Mastroly in the Northeast. Pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us. Great to be here.
And I'm in the opposite corner of the country. I'm down in Florida. But obviously, the history of the CBA program is very well known. You know, Coach, one of the richest traditions in the country. What do you think sets the foundation for such sustained success over the years?
I think Tom Heath built this program around the school, and the school was always based in a tradition of discipline, Lasallian education. The whole person matters more than a single subject, and we try to create good, solid young men that are part of their communities. And I think we've tried to continue that as best we can. And not a lot of schools are like CBA in terms of the way, once you walk in on campus, once you walk through the hallways, it's a different place. I've taught in public schools. It's different. The way the discipline works, the way teachers talk to the kids, the way kids talk to teachers, it's a whole different experience for everybody. And we've kind of extended the cross-country program into that. And I think we make it a little more fun than the classroom. Obviously we're outside running, racing, things like that. But when it comes down to it, it's a lot of that hard work, discipline, trying to make the best of yourself every day.
And how do you instill that sense of history in your athletes, especially those new guys coming into the program?
So we start putting pressure on the freshmen almost immediately to try and win our local meets. We start with that, and we try to expand out like, hey, we want to win the Manhattan Invite as the best freshman team on the East Coast type thing. And then we start comparing to other programs across the country. We'll look at freshmen from California, freshmen from everywhere else, and start telling them like, hey, these guys are the teams you're going to be racing in 2 or 3 years. So start looking at that, and then they start to feel that power of being on the CBA team and the necessity we have for them. We try to make every single kid on our team mean something. I had a student, he missed practice yesterday, and he's a freshman, he's not great yet, and I kind of gave him a hard time about it. I could see he was surprised. He was like, really? I need to be there? I'm like, yes, you matter to us, and I think that's a really important aspect of what we do.
Is it almost like setting a standard of excellence when they get on campus and get to the program? And I know, from covering a lot of sports, obviously I have young kids and they're in sports, and it's, people want to have fun. Everybody gets a participation trophy, but I almost get the feeling like when they step on your program, it's like, hey, our expectation is to be great. Like, we're going to have fun in the process. But if you want to, just run to stay in shape and, you want to go play tiddlywinks, like we're really not the program for you.
My expectation is not to be great. I don't think that, obviously that comes out and we are great most years, but it's more about making sure every kid on the team helps us do something. And there are some years like 2021, we weren't great. Alex was a freshman and he made varsity that year. He ran on our top 7 a couple times. We were not great. But it was about making sure everybody on the team took part in something. Not everybody's going to run the state meet. Not everybody's going to run NXN or NXR. But everybody can mean something. That's what the dual meet streak is about too.
Yeah, and to kind of touch on that in just a minute, Alex, when you get into the program, right, is there a buzz around town like, hey, if you're a runner, man, you got to go to CBA. That's the place. Like, what was your mindset, as you entered the school of, hey, this is a top tier program. This is something I want to be a part of.
Yeah. Coming into CBA, my brother was already on the team, so I was really excited to join him. I'd known about, CBA as being one of the top programs in the country for the past few years, as I ran a middle school before. When I came to CBA, I have all these older guys on my team, and I look up to them. I'm like, I see them running really fast, and I kind of just decided to mimic what they do so I could end up being as fast as them in the future. But I would pay attention to the seniors and juniors. they would be really good mentors to me. And I would look up to them to see how I could one day be like them and, compete in all these varsity meets, make it to NXN, hopefully end up winning NXN and all that. Yeah.
When you look at, and this question kind of for both of you, when you look back 50 years, 400 consecutive dual meet wins. I mean, that's remarkable and unmatched in high school sports history. What does it mean for both of you? Alex as a runner, coach, leading this group of young men to be a part of this legacy, that Coach Heath started, 50 years ago.
To be a part of this is really awesome. I know a lot of people that have run for CBA, between like friends of my aunts and uncles and going back like 20, 30 years. But to be a part of the streak is really awesome because you're sharing something with every single CBA runner that went through the program, and everybody ran a dual meet. Everybody's sharing the exact same moment in a race, and it just contributes to it just foreshadows how good we've been for 50 years and our work ethic as a program, and how coming to CBA, there's a certain standard that we have to uphold for all the people that ran before us.
Yeah, I think with the streak, if you look at the 50 years, I'm not 50. I'm 47. Alex's parents might not even be as old as the streak. Like, it's kind of crazy to think like that. And, as you look back at those 50 years and everything that happened, like my dad was coaching against Tom Heath. He was at a local high school for a long time. And, the streak originally was nothing. It was a very small little thing, and it started to build and grow. And I think there were a couple moments throughout the history where, believe it or not, there were two schools that 3 different times really gave us a run for our money. St. John Vianney in 1981, and then Colts Neck in 2006 and 2016, I believe. All 3 coached by Jim Schlenz, who coached Craig Voorhees, Ashley Higginson, a lot of really good runners. And they came after us a couple times. And, the one in 1981 is wild. A guy broke his ankle 2 steps before the finish line, still was able to finish and beat his guy. They went to a 6-man tiebreaker. They lost to St. John Vianney the entire rest of the year, but that one meet mattered. So we hear those stories and talk about those stories. I couldn't even pick any of those guys out in the lineup that were on those teams because I've met them in passing here and there sometimes, but some of them I've never met. So I think it's kind of crazy that we're connected through all of this. And, I ran on it. I think 3 or 4 coaches were able to. So Chris Bennett coached for a while. He raced on the streak. His brothers raced on the streak. I know my assistant coach right now was on the streak. I was on the streak. So it's kind of cool that it's come full circle for us, and we're coaching, with it. And it's 50 and 400 is nuts. So
how do the athletes handle the pressure of maintaining it? Is it, you're in these, NXR, you're in Nike Nationals, you're in, the Manhattans of the where does this, is there a pressure to maintain this streak? Is it, just another fun day? Like, what is the mindset in there and for the athletes who have to keep up the streak?
So for me coming in, obviously it was a really fun day. Meeting a lot of people that ran for CBA over the past 40, 50 years was really awesome. But actually on the line, I did get a little nervous. I was like, okay, like what if something happens? Like, this is a really big deal, like if we like somehow like blew this, with obviously didn't, but we somehow blew this would be like a really big deal. So there was actually a little pressure on all of us to, make everything go smoothly and end up actually winning the meet. But just a great experience overall. And, the fact that we got to take part in something, it's just amazing how everybody who's ever ran for CBA has shared something through the 400 dual meet.
Yeah, I like to call it positive pressure or easy pressure. I tell a story when I give a talk in Boulder running clinics. I gave a talk and I talked about Alex because that same night we had the state relay championship indoors, and he was a sophomore running the 4x8, and he was super nervous. But on the team with him were like a kid that ran 156 and 2 other kids that ran like 418. I knew we were going to win. And I wanted him to feel terrible, awful pressure. And then at the end, he was like, oh, I succeeded. So with these dual meets, a lot of the time, we will put pressure on our athletes. And I know they're going to succeed, and I know they're going to do well. And it's good practice for when they do run the state meet or an XL or an NXN. And it's something you can't reproduce for a lot of kids because your top 7's running those meets most years. So if you have a freshman or sophomore who's going to be in your top 7 in a year or two, it's a really good place to kind of poke him a little bit and test him out. And when they come out on top, the next time they're in a position like that, they know they can handle the pressure they feel.
I love it. A little confidence booster, as we like to say.
Yes.
When you compare the streak to other historic sports streaks, I know De La Salle in football has 115 winning streak or something extraordinary. Where do you think it stands? Is it the greatest streak in sports? Is it the greatest streak in high school sports? Where does it rank on your list?
Yeah, so we talked about this recently with Cal Ripken's streak and some other people that did some truly amazing things throughout the years. The high school streaks. I believe there's one wrestling team streak that's pretty long. It's very hard to be perfect for these dual meets. Listen, most of the dual meets we have are not very difficult. Most of the time, our good kids don't run them. It's more about me making sure my math is correct and the boys that are racing that they know the course. Right? I told the boys the other day, we're really good. We're the best team CBA's ever had by far. I knew we were going to win. So my instructions to them were don't do anything stupid. Don't celebrate too much. Don't get disqualified. Don't do things like that. So a lot of the time it's that. And I think what's impressive about the streak, and Tom would agree with me on this, is that we did the math correct every time. We made sure that our team was progressing every single year to get to that point. We're not always the best team in New Jersey. We're usually top 2 or 3. In my time here, we've been number 1 every year but once, I believe. And that's 10, 12 years now. So usually we are the best team. But go ahead.
I was going to say, the turnout and the enthusiasm during the off season, what is that like? That buzz around the community and the school? There's cross country programs that have trouble getting 10, 15 kids fielding a JV team. I'm sure that's not like that for you. What's the buzz and the excitement and the turnout like?
So our team isn't huge. We'll have anywhere from 20 to 30 sophomores, juniors, seniors total. And then we usually have 15 to 25 freshmen. Indoors, we get quite a few more. We have I call it the greatest day of the year. We have the freshman run. Alex is a former champion. I'm a former champion. All right. Every freshman runs a race. Every freshman that is not on crutches, essentially, runs a race. It's 1.2 or 1.3 miles around our campus. And Tom Heath comes and shoots the gun off, and it's nuts. The last year's champion leads the race in a Kenyan speed suit that we found somewhere. It's a really fun day. And the end of the race, all the kids that are finished line the course and cheer on the kids finishing slowly. It's a really fun day. It's a good bonding experience more than anything. But we'll get a lot of kids, not necessarily for cross country from that, but indoor track and outdoor track. So we can kind of coax them after that to try and run cross country. Tim McInerney, who just ran in the Olympic trials, he did really well in the freshman run, but was playing soccer. But then indoor, he came out for track, and we were able to convince him to do cross country beyond that. He went to Georgetown and had a great career. So yeah, that freshman run helps us a lot. Like this year, I think we have 9 of the top 10 kids in the race on our team, which tells us we're doing something right. And there were a couple kids that we had to go convince, like, hey, come out, try it out. And most years we get a good amount of kids from that, not necessarily right away, but in the coming months. So
that's really interesting perspective. Coach Heath, his legacy, looms large over the program. Just how did he shape the team's identity? And recently you dedicated the cross country course to him. What did that mean, for him, his family, the program, and all of CBA?
Yeah, I think he left a legacy here at CBA, of course. Alex has met him in passing. I think the other day was the only time they really ever spoke. Maybe the freshman run they met, but he is spoken about in hallways all the time. Not necessarily by the kids because they don't know him, but the teachers talk about him all the time. We talk about the teams he coached, and yes, he's the one that's over this. He's the guy who caused all of this or created all of this. But it was really the athletes and the kids that did all the work and did the running. He would tell you that as well. But to put a cross country course up for him is great. It's something that the school, when you drive on campus, it's the biggest thing that you see. They put out these pedestals that describe every decade of cross country running here at CBA. And at the end of the 100 meters from the starting line, there's a statue to George Sheehan, who's a famous runner who wrote many books about running, philosophy type books about running, who was one of the founders of the school. So it really shows you that this school is about cross country, and starting with George Sheehan and going on to Tom Heath, and now hopefully us, that we can continue that.
How refreshing in a day and age when everything is about football and basketball and those major sports, not just at a national level and professionally, but at a high school level as well. Those are the kids getting the NIL deals. That's where the money's being funneled. Those are the programs that are getting all the attention, or the shoe sponsors. How refreshing is it in a way to see a school that genuinely cares about a sport like cross country, which, not that many schools don't, but I mean, that would be in the lower third in a majority of them.
Yeah, so I ran all through middle school, and I would talk to my friends sometime. I'll be like, "Oh, I have a race tomorrow." They'll be like, "Dude, you're just running. Like, it's not that hard. It can't be that hard." And I feel like they would always kind of make fun of me when I would say, like, I have a race or something. They'd be like, "All right, like, I bet I could beat you." And to see like that, the headlines in like the Asbury Park Press or something, and my friends noticed that, like, wow, maybe this is actually a big deal. Maybe this isn't as easy as I think it is. So.
And I hate to break it to the world, we do not have football here. Yeah. Every cross country coach in the country would wish for that. It's a different atmosphere. I've been in schools where the football team was good, or the football team was bad, and they just take over the school for 3 months. And cross country here, no one sport really takes over every day. Our soccer team's very good, and they have moments where they're big, but it's not taking over anything. Nor is cross country, so it's kind of cool. Although now we're taking over half the campus, but
that's awesome. It's a little bit of a takeover. Currently ranked in the top 3 in our DyeStat national rankings. How much do the athlete and the coaching staff pay attention to these rankings? And how does it feel to consistently be recognized as a national powerhouse?
So, I mean, obviously we pay attention to the rankings the whole season, but I feel like what truly matters is when you show up to the race, anything can happen. So the rankings they mean a lot, but honestly, in the end, they don't mean too much. What really matters for us as a team this season, we're just trying to really stay focused on the main goal, which is we're trying to, kind of live in the present right now and focus on what's next rather than what's all the way in the future. So next up for us, we have like our Bowdoin Classic, and we've just been focusing on training, consistent training, nothing too hard, but just focusing on what's now and focus on the process rather than the end goal.
Yeah, I think NXN is obviously the ultimate goal of any really good program. It's hard to wrap your head around in September. We are building towards that, of course, but I think what he said is perfect. We're living in the present. We're working on what we're doing now. And the ultimate goal is to, after this, we have picture day, and hopefully Alex gets a cool, media photo and I'll tweet it out or something. But that's what we're focusing on. And then we're doing a recovery run. We had a hard workout yesterday, and that's it. So, in Bowdoin on Saturday. So.
What's a typical workout week like for you guys and the culture of the team?
Tons and tons and tons of threshold. We don't do double threshold. I think that's a lot for high school kids, but we do a lot of threshold. Twice a week we'll do upwards of 30 to 40 minutes of threshold running, depending on what effort of level it is. We look at the LT1, LT2. If we're doing LT1, we'll do 35, 40 minutes. If we're doing LT2, it's more like 20 to 30, but we try to do that twice a week. Sometimes we throw in a third day a week just to get a little bit more in. Might be a shorter version of that, but we're really trying to get as much of that threshold in. And that comes after years and years of me kind of changing what we've done and kind of perfecting what we do. And it's not perfect, but still trying to get to that point.
Alex, is there a favorite workout or one you guys dread but know it makes you better?
Yeah, so my favorite workout so far is 4 by 8 minutes at our slow tempo pace. It's just such a good workout because it's not too much on the legs, and you can actually like converse during the workout. You can talk with your friends. So after the workout, you're like, oh, that wasn't bad at all, and you're ready to go 2 days later to do another workout around the same intensity. So for now, we've been focusing on more volume, less intensity to just kind of maintain throughout the season. Don't do too much too early, and I think the way we've been working out helps our athletes. Helps our team recover a lot quicker, so we're just ready to go. That's
And I know it's cliche, but when you talk about athletes, when you talk about teams, when you talk about sports, a common word is brotherhood. How do the athletes and how do you guys on the team bond outside of practice? Do you guys do team building activities? Are there any summer workouts that stand out? You see a commonality in most great teams throughout sports is teams that get along. There's no locker room head cases. There's a brotherhood and a genuine, we want to work for the next man and make our team better. What is that camaraderie like with this group?
So last year, ending outdoor track, we had our group of seniors leave, and they were like really close to us because I've been with them for 3 years. So they were the people that I knew the most and that I loved the most on the team. But coming in every year, there's new freshmen, new sophomores, and we end up becoming friends with these kids. We build bonds with these kids. We show up to practice with them every day, and truly through running, we make such good relationships, and that just helps us get better as a whole. Helps with our training. We work together, we work hard together, we push each other, and there's a little competitive. There's always a good amount of competitiveness in that too, which I think is a good thing sometimes. And so we hang out outside of school like a good amount. Like our top varsity group, we're all such good friends, and even with the younger guys too, everybody's included. Everybody knows each other. Everybody's friends with each other. But yeah.
Yeah, to take a step back from that, I think our school has a brotherhood that other places don't have. It's kind of crazy. We do things like soccer game, host a state championship game. The principal will lead the entire school up to the soccer field to watch the game. And like we'll have 600 or 700 kids, bagpipers in front of them leading. And I think not having girls in our school kind of allows for a different type of bond between the kids, good and bad, of course, not having girls. It's different on this campus. And I think the cross country kids take it to another level of that. And other coaches have told me that, I wish our kids were as close as yours are, but I think it's part of the 365 days a year, the 3 seasons, all that stuff. But the brotherhood on this campus is different. It's kind of funny. Today, they hosted a sophomore brotherhood day where they learn to be a bonded group of kids. So they do things like that here that's just different than other places.
That really is awesome. What is the best advice, Coach, that you've given your athletes? And, as a coach, I know feedback is a gift. What advice have you received from them that you've taken to your coaching?
That's a tough one. I think that over the years of my coaching, I've gotten a lot more apt to listening to them and talking to them about how they feel. One very important one, a few years ago, we used to do 4-mile tempo runs, 5-mile tempo runs. And one winter, we just decided to do broken tempo runs. And at the end, one kid, Nick Sullivan, said to me, Coach, I think these work a lot better. So that's one physical one. I think other ones just reading kids and making sure that they're happy and having fun, right? I had a kid last year, Jack Falkowski, who ran 4:08 151 and 913. And he was our second kid in cross country. So his range was off the charts. He's at Furman now. I think looking at him, he wore his emotions on his sleeve a lot. And you could tell when he was having a rough day. You could tell when he was having a good day. And I started to learn what made him tick. So it wasn't anything he said. It was more of give the kids what they want and give the kids what they need and deserve. And they will be happier and they will run better. That's not to say like, hey, I need ice pops and candy today. It's more like making sure they're given the workouts they need and the happiness they need to succeed. Because if a kid's miserable, they're not going to run well. I
think that's great advice. And I watch a lot of Gary Vee, and he talks about listening to your, as a leader, listen to your employees. Doesn't mean give them 5 days off, but listen to what they want, and the happier they are, and the way you can lead, the better they will perform for you. Just kind of last question to kind of round everything out. I know we talked about what's upcoming. We talked a little bit about the end goal of Nike Nationals, but elaborate a little more. What does that schedule look like over the coming weeks, and what are those ultimate goals, and how do you get there?
Before I answer that question real quick, you said perform for me. They don't perform for me. They perform for each other, right? That's a really important thing that we have here. So anyway, Alex, go ahead. Let's come on.
Yeah, so we definitely perform for each other, and we perform for the years of the previous guys that graduated. They're hoping for us to win. They're hoping for us to do something that they couldn't, because that bond was just so strong. But our upcoming schedule, we have Bowdoin Classic, then we'll have Manhattan, short conference meet, our state meet of champions, regionals, and then ultimately NXN. So yeah, it's about 6 or 7 races. And we're looking to run our first actual flat 5K that we've run in the past 2 years, because only done hilly courses. So we're really excited for that one at our short conference meet. So yeah.
How do you and I know I said that was the last question, Coach, and how do you keep them focused through these meets when quite frankly there's bigger fish that you'd ideally like to fry at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think you need to pick the meet you go to properly. Like Manhattan is a lot of fun. You're finishing on Broadway. It's nuts. Tom Heath is being recognized this year. Hopefully we make it a big CBA party. We got to win though. That's always important. I think if you pick the right races and you time them well, I think the kids are motivated to do well. The hardest part for me is making sure their emotions don't get carried away at the end of the season. In the past, we had NXR, and then on Wednesday, we're on a plane and racing on Saturday for NXN, and it's very difficult to control those emotions. And before last year, we would have our state meet, our meet of champions, NXR, NXN, 4 weeks in a row, kind of like California does. And it's just a lot. It's tough to get them up. And every meet gets more important and it gets tougher. It's very difficult to do. This year we have a week off between NXR and NXN, which I think is going to help us immensely. Just letting us recover and enjoy NXR for a little bit. And Thanksgiving, we get a Thanksgiving weekend for the first time in like 25 years where I get to not have to rush out the door on Friday to go to New York and race, so we're going to be able to relax and kind of regroup a little bit, which I think is more important than anybody realizes across the country.
Well, this year, enjoy the turkey dinner and the fixings. Maybe go up early and watch the parade. But nonetheless, we'll be rooting for you. Coach McCafferty, Alex Mastroly of Christian Brothers, best of luck this season, and hopefully we'll see you out at NXN later this year.
Great. Thank you
so much.